Welcome to the Kansas City Stars Facebook Live. We talk about the Chiefs with Vahe Gregorian, with Lynn Worthy, and Sam Mellinger. And behind the camera is John Sleezer, producer, director, engineer, spinning the dials, doing a great job. So I think the first topic we need to cover today, I read this on Twitter earlier today, and so anything you read on Twitter that must have happened, must be true. Hope everybody had a happy Halloween last night. I think Sam had a happy Halloween this morning because he has pilfered some of his kids' candy and has put them away in the freezer.
A father of three, you're telling me you never did this?
It's not about me, Sam. I'm the moderator.
Also, I want to go back to that tweet. And what was the specific language of how you've, shall we say, harvested this candy? I think you said something that really kind of made Katie the villain.
A dad tax.
Yes, you applied the dad tax.
Yeah, and let's be honest, like, I haven't asked her directly, but I'm pretty sure my wife took a mom tax. Now, I'm not saying they were in relation, like the mom tax should be higher than the dad tax, and the dad tax was probably higher than the mom tax, if we're being honest. But still.
Here's the thing.
Hold on. I'm going to let you finish, as they say. But the result of this dad tax is that there are now miniature candy bars in our freezer. And she's more than welcome to eat those too.
Oh,
You know
well,
what
how nice, Sam. How nice of you to allow your wife.
So did you? I noticed you said you didn't actually ask her, so you basically just indicted her without any prior knowledge that she actually took a tax. That's what we're saying there?
I assume she did.
This is kind of my question, and we
civil
really need
court,
to get
not
away from
criminal
this. But I do want to know, like, you're basically saying she's either stuck them in the couch or she's eaten a bunch of them.
Yeah.
As long as we're
Just to be
clear on
clear,
that.
yeah.
Pretty much.
So,
And look, I'm actually on your side, but I just want to hear it all.
I had 2 more this morning. That's great. No regrets.
Chiefs and Browns, Sunday in Cleveland. But before we look ahead, let's look past. Let's go back to last weekend's Chiefs win over the Broncos. You know, here's what I got from that game. Lowest total yards by the Chiefs in a game this year, so lowest offensive output. Lowest third down conversions in a game. They were 3 for 10 on third downs. Just a disaster of a game for the Chiefs, I think, if we can all agree. What is wrong with this organization? But look, it was a 30-23 win for the Chiefs to make them 7-1. But there were a couple of issues, weren't there?
Yeah, of course. But, like, the thing I keep thinking about is they weren't good. Like, they weren't great offensively. You know, a lot of mistakes, drop passes, all this stuff. And the quarterback throws for 300 and some, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, one of the worst games of the season for him. The Broncos, their record doesn't really show it. But depending on how nerdy you want to get, they're top 10 in a lot of, sort of advanced metrics. That's a good team. The Chiefs have beaten them twice. Patrick Mahomes is the only guy to go for over 300 against that defense. He's done it twice. They're all flawed rosters in the NFL, right? But this is a team that played maybe, B-, C+ kind of game. And the Broncos had a chance to tie it with a touchdown at the end. But they were never closer than that. They never tied it. They never took the lead. I'm left more impressed after performances like that, honestly. Like, if you can win, if you can beat a good team playing mediocrely.
Yeah.
Is that a word, mediocre?
It's not, but continue.
Playing with mediocrity.
There you go.
Then I think that's pretty impressive because we've seen the Chiefs, we've seen that offense like at its best. Pittsburgh, second half in New England, stuff like that. Cincinnati, yeah. And so, I don't know, to me, to be able to do that, I think it's really impressive.
Maybe this is a minor point, but maybe it's a supplemental point. One thing that, and if I have this right, both Denver games in New England, not good first halves offensively.
Yeah.
I mean, it took, but you never sort of thought, well, this is the comeuppance.
Yeah.
Right. You just sort of figure, well, they'll adjust, they'll get their groove. And I think that's, maybe I'm speaking to a different point here, but it's the Mahomes factor, right? Where they're in every game, and not just they're in every game, they have an advantage that's going to kick in.
Yeah, I have to admit, after the second interception in New England, I thought Belichick had him.
It's 24 to 9 halftime.
I was going to say that might have been the one where I thought, maybe they're not going to.
Well, maybe a better way to frame that one.
didn't.
But I think that's a better
took the
point.
lead in the
Maybe
fourth quarter.
If you're wavering, at that point you saw that, that's just not really going to be that way. I mean, look, they're going to lose again sometime.
Right,
But,
right. We think, maybe.
Some year.
Yeah.
Yes, Patrick Mahomes will lose a second game in his career. Stunned that he lost one already.
By the way, of all the stats we've looked at, and I can't remember if we've used this one or come across this one, who has a better record than 8-1 in his first 9 career starts?
Oh.
Anybody?
I wonder if Roethlisberger had that rookie year.
Yeah. Well, he,
I don't
not
know how
rookie.
he-
It was his second year, I
Oh,
think,
was
when
it
he was
second
15.
year?
And
Okay.
no, I take
Well,
that
this
back.
isn't his rookie year either.
No,
I mean, from
Roethlisberger
Mahomes.
did. He started out fifth. The team started out undefeated.
Oh, that's wow.
They lost the first game. He didn't start, and then he started a couple games later,
Okay.
and they ran the table and got to the AFC title game and lost. They won the Super Bowl his second year. So maybe I think Roethlisberger would have at least Roethlisberger would be
That team
better.
was 15-1.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
Lynn just pointed out, it's not, he's not a rookie, first year starter, not a rookie.
Right.
but
I just
whatever.
mean first 9 starts.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
Anyway, that's all.
it's wild.
Well, which it's also a way to get into. Even though maybe the numbers of the game were better against the Bengals when they won 45-10, I thought the defense came up pretty big against the Broncos.
The best pass rush they've had.
Absolutely.
I think by far. I saw this stat from Pro Football Focus that, I hope I get this right. 33 pass rushes. D. Ford rushed the passer 33 times, and he affected the quarterback in some way, a hurry, a hit, or a sack on 15 of those 33 snaps. That's incredible.
That is incredible.
And that's why he today was named AFC Defensive Player of the Month. He was AFC Defensive Player of the Week yesterday, and so they just the new news today was the AFC Defensive Player of the Month. 6 sacks in the month of October, 4 forced fumbles. First defensive player for the Chiefs to win the monthly award since Justin Houston in 2013. So the guy is having a year.
Is there a guy on this team whose image has been more transformed these last few weeks? I mean, look, I think there was always a thought D had something like this in him, but would he ever get it out? Would it ever happen that way? I mean,
the quarterback is the only one, but I think but that was completely different, right? That was just people didn't know for sure.
Right.
I think a lot of people, and maybe I'm projecting, this is how I thought, I've said this before, but I thought he'd be this good. I really did. Just not right now. I thought this would be year 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. So Pat has gone from nobody knows to damn best quarterback in the NFL. Like probably if you took a vote right now, the MVP of the whole league, I would think.
Mid-season, be the mid-season MVP, I would think.
Yeah, it's a different scale, right? Like D has gone from a guy who people were, a lot of Chiefs fans, a lot of you guys were like pissed that they gave him the $8 million, that they picked up his 5th-year option. And now they're going to have to franchise him or give him, $80 million or something like that.
I was going to say, you mentioned Justin Houston, and it looks like we don't know where it's going to ultimately end, but a step closer to actually playing. Practice today, limited participation, but I mean, it's been 3 games now since we've seen him. And we talk about the best pass rusher they had all season. That was without Houston on the field.
Yes, that is a really important part of this because, like, part of the D, like 2 years ago thing when he got the 10 sacks, well, they're just worried about the other guy. I did see a stat that he's only been doubled on 21% of his pass rushes, which seems pretty low for a guy who's doing what he's doing. So I don't know if that'll change. If Cleveland will, if they'll block him a little bit differently. By the way, Aaron Donald has like 11 sacks. He's been doubled on 70-some%.
Yeah, Aaron Donald's having a ridiculous year.
Guy's a freaking
He
alien.
is. He's a freak, and he was the NFC Defensive Player of the Month, by the way, and the best defensive player in the league, I think.
By far.
Yeah, by far.
Oh my God.
Hey, before we continue, send us your questions, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. And the reason we are Facebookless live today is because Brooke Pryor is in Cleveland on assignment and gathering, collecting, and writing about the hometowns of Chiefs players like Kareem Hunt and Travis Kelce. So look for those stories in the Kansas City Star. Browns this weekend. I've had an interesting few days in Cleveland. Just to recap, on Monday, around 10 a.m. or so, in here, we're at Chiefs practice facility. We heard that Hugh Jackson had been relieved of his head coaching duties So the first response, the impulse was maybe Todd Haley's taking over, right? Going to be the interim coach. About an hour later, we hear Todd Haley also out, and so now it's Greg Williams, the former Belton High, and then Excelsior Springs or High Belton. I don't know.
He's from Excelsior.
And went to Belton, maybe. So in the Kansas City area, Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator, is taken over, and he will be the interim head coach for the Browns. And how does that affect the team? I've been asking some players that this week here with the Chiefs, who actually a couple of them in the locker room have been through this situation 7 years ago in 2011. So I'll have a story on that coming up in the next day or so. But how do the Browns respond to this?
Well, first of all, I think we all agree it's nice to see Greg Williams he's turned down 4 opportunities for a job without even interviewing. It's like he just waited for the right situation.
So why didn't he refuse this job? I wonder. It's very confusing.
For the folks who may have missed it, Greg Williams, apparently he did it during the press conference and during the conference call where he mentioned that he had 11 head coaching opportunities, 4 that he didn't have to interview for. Basically, he just had to sign the dotted line and the job was his. So, which has elicited some responses from folks. My favorite was Brian Billick, who on Twitter saw that tweet and responded, me too, bro.
I'd also point out that if in fact that's true, that he's turned down 4 no interview, you've got it jobs to be an assistant with the Browns, that is an indictment of his
I think that's a completely logical and reasonable point. So it's look. I guess we all know this, right? It's a kind of wild card thing. You don't really know what it means, right? And maybe you don't know it till you see it. They've got some talent. They can only be so good, probably.
They do have some good players.
Sometimes this has a little,
They got a good defense. It's a decent defense.
Yeah. So sometimes this kind of thing has a little jolting effect, right? But other times it's just disarray. And I think if you're looking at the broad view on this, I think the Chiefs will come to play, and the Chiefs will win. And there'll be some things the Browns do that throw them off, but by and large, the Chiefs will just chief, which is the whole new meaning of what I've heard you use for a long time.
Well, there's a different there's chiefing
playoff chiefing.
Yeah, there's September to December chiefing, and then there's January chiefing. They're very different things.
We don't need to talk about that yet. Let's
right
not
now
go
it's
there.
November. But Blair, I'm sure you're hitting this in the story, but the people I think Chiefs fans will remember, the good Joel. Right, when they fired Todd Haley
after 13 games and elevated Romeo Crennel, the defensive coordinator, and you were there.
They beat the 13-0 Packers.
Yep.
Packers finished 15-1. I forgot who they lost. They didn't win the Super Bowl that year. I forgot who they lost.
They did not win the Super Bowl.
But that team was just a freight train until they faced Romeo Crennel and the really, really, really bad Chiefs. That was 2011, right?
Yeah. So based on that game, and I think they won another one. Maybe they won their last. They went to Denver and won 6-3 or something crazy. They beat Tim Tebow's Denver Broncos team in the final game of the season.
Why did that game have to happen?
So, but based on that outcome, they took the interim tag off of Romeo Crennel. He was the head coach in 2012, and boy, did that work out well for the Chiefs. Did it not?
Yeah.
Oof. 2-14, and look, that's brought Andy Reid and John Dorsey to Kansas City.
And speaking of John Dorsey,
Old Dorsey.
boy, is Old Dorsey quiet.
Yeah.
Right, he wasn't in on any of the news conference the other day about this, was he?
I think he was with.
Was he there?
Maybe with with the owner Jimmy Haslam.
Okay, maybe
on
I
Monday
just saw the
afternoon.
highlights of Haslam talking,
but no, I didn't see any quotes from him.
I did try to reach out to John this week and suggested that since it was such a quiet week for him, he might have a little time. But he hasn't responded. But it's interesting, right? That's certainly a big part of this interesting week, right? Is the guy who was the architect of a lot of this up against these guys, and I really do wish we'd have access. It would be, of course, muted access because I don't think anybody's going to say anything, but we still don't really know the whole story about the change or even his relationship with Brett. I know he's kept up with Brett Veach. At least that's what Brett was telling us early on, which is kind of neat.
That part of it is telling to me that John and Brett do have, that
Yeah.
that wasn't the
No,
wasn't
right.
the problem.
No,
Yeah.
no.
John urged him to try to get the job,
Yeah.
as I recall.
Yep.
One of the folks on Facebook wanted to know, how do we think that their new play caller is going to affect the game planning, or just how the Chiefs have to get ready for the fact that you have, because they lost the head coach and the offensive coordinator, somebody who hasn't called plays before.
Well, how much can you change, for one thing, right? I mean, how much can you change in this period of time? You can't do, Blair and I had occasion to talk about this morning, you can't do the Marv Levy thing where you just go to the single wing, right, or something, or can you, right? I mean, you'd have to do something amazingly simple. I don't know what it would be.
You can't change terminology. You can't change formations. Maybe you can throw in a play or two.
There might be some tendencies, right? Like there might be, more or less trick plays or, something. But yeah, you can't change the whole freaking system.
But I do think that a change like this can bring an energy.
Yeah.
For a temporary
Absolutely.
energy, I think fans will be energized. I think it'll be an interesting crowd and on Sunday in Cleveland. And look, as you look for sort of hidden factors in this game, who knows the Chiefs personnel better than the general manager of the Browns, right? Yeah. Who knows the tendencies of Chiefs players better than, including the quarterback, who, he was in on, had a big hand in on drafting.
That's an interesting question, right? Because normally don't we just assume that GMs, there's obviously entwinement and engagement between them, but GM's not really in on a game plan, right?
But he walks the halls, doesn't he? Walks in, he's in meetings and walks.
That's what I mean. Don't you do it? Don't you offer a little something this week?
I think so.
I would think. Why wouldn't you?
And I would solicit that if I was
Well,
Greg
yeah.
Williams,
Sure.
Well, you don't get offered all those jobs.
That's true.
If you don't think that way.
You're not looking for every edge.
Hey, a little more seriously, but hopefully not so seriously. He's got a bit of a reputation for, trying to hurt players.
A little bit. Yeah.
Is that coming to anybody else's mind this week? Besides
Absolutely.
mine?
Oh,
He's
yeah.
gotta be coming after that quarterback.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's-
Without a doubt. Like, that's a good way to energize your guys. And plus, they just have a badass edge rush. Like Miles
Right.
Garrett, this is
Right.
kind of what he does, right? That guy's a monster. And I really think if you're trying to beat the Chiefs, beat the quarterback as often and hard as you can, act like Pirates, and run the ball. Run the ball, both because the Chiefs can't stop it and you keep that kid off the field. But absolutely, I would expect Greg Williams to be going after the kid.
Yeah, I don't know if it's as much a physical beat 'em as it is confuse 'em, just because today's NFL, you can only beat a guy so much,
that's true.
Not that Greg Williams has never skirted the rules at all, but but these days you can only do so much. But I feel like maybe confuse him, because I think that's some of what we saw in that first half against the Patriots. Like, there was stuff that he thought he saw that he didn't actually see, and you had the 2 interceptions, you had the offense struggle a little bit. So I feel like that, and we know they're going to put pressure on him, at least we think we know that's what the Browns do. Yeah. So if maybe they come from different places, they give him different looks, he doesn't know where it's coming from, maybe that's where you sort of try and beat the quarterback, like up here, as opposed to just beat him.
Yeah. What was also important in that New England game is they did it early, and I feel like New England and Denver have shown that if you can sort of get in his head and get him rushed and get his feet moving where he doesn't want, you can kind of knock him off balance for maybe a half. And,
Right.
There's a kind of a 50-50 shot that you may be able to win that way. It just depends on how many second and 30s you can keep him from converting.
Yeah.
But if you confuse him early, maybe there's not many weaknesses, right? But that might be one, sort of.
This might be a good time to mention that I think the Chiefs tackles, Fisher and Schwartz, have played pretty well this year.
Yeah.
They've done a really nice job, and I think a good game will be needed from them in Cleveland. But Mitchell Schwartz, former Cleveland Brown, Cameron Irving, who a lot of people talk to today, first-round pick of the Cleveland Browns. Austin Ryder, three-fifths of the Chiefs' offensive line were Cleveland Browns in recent years. So we talk about the connection between the city of Cleveland and Kelsey and Hunt, but there's also a Browns connection here with the offensive line. And I know you're going to write about you've got something in the hopper with Mitchell Schwartz.
Been sort of talking to Mitchell off and on for a couple of weeks about different things. I went to see him at the Jewish Community Center when he had his latkes and his presentation of his dog Cupcake.
Really?
Yeah. Cupcake's about this big.
If you had said
he wanted a big dog.
If you had said cupcakes and presentation of his latkes, I wouldn't.
I know.
Yeah, same
I
thing.
wish I'd finessed that better, but yeah. But anyway, we've all had the chance to talk to him a little bit, and some more than others. I think Sam's talked to him a lot. He's a fascinating guy and very thoughtful, and here he is going back to Cleveland. And he's kind of been the Iron Man. And by the way, I'm allowed to talk about the Iron Man stuff because he says he's not superstitious. So people have, like, I asked Andy Reid something about it the other day, and people are like, it's like, it's really not going to be because I asked a question.
Yeah. If jinxes were a thing, flight attendants would not welcome you to the city when you're 30,000 feet above the ground. I've always like, that's
right.
Just remember that.
I always say that to myself too. I said, "We're not there yet. Come on."
Plus, I mean, this actually is a bad example, but because we don't want anything to come of that. But you did write, about Dustin Colquitt the other day, and he had to punt a lot. It turns out.
Well, I'm not the one writing about Mitch Schwartz, right?
No, but the point is, you got the story out of the way when you needed to.
Exactly. Good timing.
What's his streak up to, by the way? When we talk about Iron Man,
I don't have that number in front of me, but
consecutive snaps.
It's games and snaps. I mean,
100th was Monday night in Denver.
Yeah, so it's got 104
game.
games, but the snap count is something like, I'm making
close
this number up,
number.
but 800 something or high sevens.
1,000.
Yes, yeah.
If it's like
Yeah.
65 snaps a game
yeah.
or so, then
Yeah, so it's roughly in that area. I think the idea was he might go over 7,000.
I think that's
last
right.
week.
He was like 6,800 a couple
Yeah.
games ago, so he might go over 7,000. So that's amazing. It really is. It's
crazy.
Yeah.
We'll
At this
get that
point,
for you.
yeah, we'll get that. We'll get that to you.
There
We'll
we
get that
go.
to you. I was gonna say, I think because Cam Irving did miss a couple snaps at the end of that game, so now the only offensive players aside from Patrick Mahomes who played every snap are the two tackles. It's Schwartz and
How about
Fisher.
that?
The two bookends with all that stuff that was going on in between there. And actually, Cam Irvin, if he hadn't missed a couple of snaps, would be right there too, because that left side stayed intact. But you have the two bookends have been the guys who've been there every play.
Well, let's switch to Fish for 1 second. I don't know if you've. I mean, it seems it's been all quiet on that front, and that's probably usually good at that position. But I haven't studied any numbers or grades or anything. Have you come across anything that sort of tangibly says he's? I don't know if
I'd have to
fulfilled
look
his
up
promise
the-
is the right way to put it, but he's become who he's supposed to
he's
be,
been a
hasn't
good
he?
player. Yeah, he's always going to be, like when you talk about him as a player, his career, whatever, it's always going to be, well, he was the first pick of the draft, right? And it's never going to matter to a lot of people that draft was terrible. I mean, if you go back and look at that draft, and that's not just hindsight. Like at the time,
No, that's
people
right.
were like, "Ooh, bad year to have the first pick," right?
Of course, it was the only number one pick in franchise history, right? Wasn't it? Or
Yeah.
first in
Yeah.
NFL.
And sandwiched right between the Jadeveon Clowney draft and the Andrew Luck draft, right? But anyway, I think he's a reliable, representative, average to above average, left tackle. He's a good player, and he's also really good for them because he's athletic. He can move. He can get out in space. That Lynn, you pointed this out. I think in your film review on the was it the Kareem Hunt, the hurdle play, the shovel pass?
Yeah,
play?
probably. Yeah,
He got a really nice block. Gets downfield. He does that a lot.
Well, Cam. And they've left him. I think. I'm trying to remember. Was it last week we had the assistant coaches? Maybe it was the week before. Tried to ask Andy Heck about the fact that they left him at guard because he was
Cam.
Cam. They left Cam at guard just because when camp started, which seems like a long time ago, he was taking snaps at center because Morris was still out and thought he might be the second option at center. And he was sort of thought of as that swing tackle if they needed a tackle. But when the injury started, they just left him alone. And I think part of that is he'd moved around so much in his career and he was sort of viewed as a bust in Cleveland because they never really found a spot for him and kept moving him. The fact that he's been able to stay in that one spot, I think they really like that and they think that's better for him. And he seems to have finally gotten comfortable there and he's playing well and they think they've found a way to, they know how to use him. So it's been, for everybody's best interest, I think that they've sort of settled him into that spot and just said, go with it.
I'm curious, Lynn, if you agree with this. It seems like in the beginning of the year and like in the preseason, he's getting pushed around a little bit, just kind of like physically. And it seems like I don't know what's different now. I'm not smart enough to break that part of it down, but, we were talking about D4 and some other guys like improving as the season goes on. He seems like a guy, seems like a different player than the preseason to me. And I don't know, maybe it's the stability of, just playing that guard spot. I don't know. But
There was some skepticism when they signed the extension, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was,
Sure.
in fact,
Because he lost his job and signed
Yeah.
an extension,
Yeah.
right, like on the same day, basically.
Yeah.
That's
Except
right.
he never really lost it.
That's
They
right.
just sort of,
As
we all
it's
thought
just
he,
like
yeah.
Yeah.
empty depth chart thing, right? But yeah, he's turned into a good find.
Hey, it's Blair Kerkhoff, and if you're listening to this, you love Kansas City sports, whether it's the Chiefs, Royals, Sporting, Mizzou, KU, or K-State. And no one covers these teams like the Kansas City Star. If you currently subscribe to the paper or have a digital subscription, thank you for your support. And if you don't, here's a great offer. It's called Sports Pass, unlimited digital access to every sports story and video on kansascity.com. And it's just $30 for the first year. It's the best sports value in town, just 8 cents a day or $2.50 a month. You can't beat that. Subscribe now at kansascity.com/sportspass.
Any sense of, I guess, the practice report was Mitch Morse wasn't going to practice again today.
Right.
What sense do you guys have of that? And maybe we just have no sense. Maybe you can't tell on these kind of injuries. But has Andy given any clue or?
No, and you and I have talked about. I don't know if we've talked about it on Facebook Live, just how kind of concerned you are with Mitch Morris because of the number of concussions now. How much time he's missed in his, his few years
It's a
with the
big deal.
Chiefs. It is. It's not to.
I had a really touching talk with Mitch once about some of that and about how I should actually find what it was. The way he described it, he doesn't care about those things. That he really wants to play. He thinks it's important for his family, and I find it both admirable and makes me flinch. Right? I mean, he's that kind of guy, though. He's like. He really is like a big brother sort of guy to everybody. Fits that lineman role just the way you'd want it, but may need to be saved from himself if it persists. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
Well, and plays such an important role in his family too. with his-
Yeah, and that's part of it. I meant to fill that in, but Mitch, in case for those who don't know, is a special needs brother, and that sort of informs a lot of the way he does everything. So we'll just see. But yeah, you're right. I'm concerned. He's a lovely guy. You want to see good happen for him.
Absolutely.
While we're on the injury subject, somebody had asked about that. Anthony Hitchens also was participating in practice today. He came out of the game the last week with a rib injury and had to be sort of helped off the field. I think it was Monday. Andy was already saying that it was trending the right way. He didn't practice yesterday. Today was supposed to be limited, so we'll still see where he's at this weekend. And then Zombo was out, Eric Berry was out, and the Morse was the other one.
Yeah, but you're right. We did see we saw Justin Houston and Anthony Hitchens on the practice field today. We only see the first 10 minutes or so it's just stretching. So Fridays will be the interesting. Tomorrow's injury report will be the interesting one. I wanted to get to this real quick, but since we're talking a lot about offensive and defensive line play, and I know sacks and sacks allowed aren't the only measure of that, but it's talking about trends. Chiefs are second in the NFL in number of sacks. They're 24 sacks, ranked second in the NFL. The Browns are 32nd in sacks allowed. So if you want to look for so they're having obviously offensive line issues in Cleveland, but
I might be remembering this wrong too, but it seemed to me maybe the first 2 games the Chiefs had very few sacks. So a lot of that number is really in the last 5-6 games.
And they have, this is in my head just because I looked it up the other day, they faced more pass attempts than every team in the league except for
That's
I think,
right.
the Bengals.
they were leading by so much so early that teams were kind of had to throw.
Yeah. So they've got
Good point. Yeah.
they're in a lot of passing situations, and all that stuff.
Right.
But still, if you're first in the league, you're first in the league.
And they're near the bottom in sacks allowed, or near the top. The Chiefs are in sacks allowed, only 10.
Near the best.
Near the best. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's we the line play has been good, no matter who has been on the line. And listen, that includes the substitutes on the offensive line and up and coming Breland Speaks on the defensive side, and
Chris
Jones, Tano Passanio with a nice play on last Sunday against the Broncos. So,
But the O-line thing is not to be understated, right? I mean, as much flux as they've had and look, Patrick's part of that, right?
He's a big part of it.
It's whether it's the time of the release, the creativity outside the pocket that obviously helps, but also he I think generally speaking has a feel for what his line's going to do for him and can have enough faith that he can get to the place he needs to get.
Yeah.
Just get out and go.
I got the sense, I think this is interesting, I got the sense kind of in the preseason and maybe the first game or two of the regular season that there was a little bit of frustration from some of the linemen about we don't know where Pat's going to be. It's hard to block when you don't know where the quarterback's going to be. You might block him into a sack or whatever. And I think they've really addressed that. And again, I can't break down all the nuance and stuff about how they have, but I sense that that's completely gone. I don't hear any of the subtle stuff from linemen that I heard early in the season. I think they've kind of figured that out.
Well, remember after that first preseason game, which was like 9 plays, there was so much talk about the offensive line sort of just not being up to par and how much pressure was on Pat. I remember that was the topic for the first week. It's like they played 9 plays, and everybody's like, what is this line doing? They're going to get Pat killed. He's not going to make it through like a couple of games.
It's so true.
And it's interesting that you talk about sort of just like the frustration, because I want to say it was after that Chicago game where they really blitzed him a lot. I remember somewhere along the way, Andy mentioned just briefly that, one of the things that Pat could work on was working the pocket or manipulating the pocket, something along those lines. And I feel like that might be where some of this came from is, him maybe having a better sense, a better feel of the pocket and, not necessarily getting out when you didn't have to or stepping into, rushes that he didn't have to.
let me bring this up. I can think of one time in the last 3 seasons where going to a specific road destination had a motivating effect on the Chiefs. Can you remember that game? Road game since 2016 where players were just, because of where it was and how many players in that locker room were kind of from that area. Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Remember how significant that was?
Yes.
And we know what happened in that game, right? Eric Berry had the best game I think I've ever seen, a safety play. Albert Wilson from that area took the fake punt or the short snap punt into the end zone from about midfield.
Tyreek probably had a moment, but there's so many I can't even remember anymore.
So I get a feeling about this week with guys going back to Cleveland, and I think that's real. I think there's something about that we talked to Kareem Hunt about having to get tickets, and his mom's working to get a bunch of people. Kareem Hunt fans and from his high school to the game, and Kelsey I know is.
Kelsey's the one I wonder about whether this will be good for him or not.
Well, that was the first game that came to mind. You're like a specific location. I was like, oh, Tijuana.
You were thinking about the Chargers game.
But look, I mean, obviously Kelsey will want to perform big there, right?
Perform.
Yes.
Or just perform.
Yeah, I don't want to
And
perform.
obviously, there's a chance he could be what you call overamped, right? Now, it's by the way, he's been minding his P's
He's
and
been
Q's.
great since the first.
Yeah.
Was it the first 3 or 4 games last year? Where
Yes, that was
continuing
it had
act like a crazy
gone
person.
through from the. It was like a streak of like 5 straight games.
Yeah.
The last 2 or so, or the last 4, the last 5 of the previous season. Then, but I don't remember a thing.
It was almost that Eagles. Was it the Eagles game or maybe the next?
The Eagles
week?
game, I think, was maybe the
The
cutoff.
last, yeah. I
Yeah.
think somebody said. I think there was somebody in the locker room. I think coaches can only do so much.
Yeah.
I think that was somebody on the team. Yeah, we might get a. We always call it like the Marcus Peters game. Like we may get a Travis Kelce game.
Hey, look,
He's got like 3 touchdowns, 180 yards, and gets kicked out.
and punch the ball.
3 personal fouls.
Really though, that's a really legitimate parallel. Kelsey going back to Cleveland versus Marcus going to Oakland.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's.
I don't think Travis will throw up on the sideline the way Marcus did.
Or if there's a fight, come out and battle his teammates. And
Or Marshawn come out. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, man.
You missed it, Lynn.
Well, since we brought up Atlanta and Eric Berry, we, of course, have gotten the Eric Berry questions. where do we think that stands? Some folks are asking, do we think he'll be back before the Mexico game, which isn't that far away? We're at the halfway point now. Still no Eric Berry.
I'm going with the. They're saving him for the last couple. Saving him. I mean, I think this thing is being geared toward the last couple of games of the regular season and then the playoffs. And they. It's just my feeling. It's just a sense that I have. I'm not expecting him back for the Rams in Mexico City or the first couple of games in December, but maybe the Thursday night game at home in mid-December, or maybe I think they play. Yeah, I think they play Thursday night game in mid-December.
Chargers, right?
Something like that. 3 games regular season, and then into the playoffs, and and you've got 6 games of if the Chiefs are, have what they want, 6 games of Eric Berry and.
This sounds silly, but I don't. Like, the 8th thing, I for some reason I don't picture them debuting him even if he's ready at Oakland, let's say. Right, just with his history there, that's where the mask got exposed, but also just kind of a weird place to play, weird environment. Let's get him started here at home, right? And I think you're right. I don't think we see him before Mexico City. And
Well, that would mean the Cardinals game, right?
That's next week.
the
Following week.
Gosh, that's really closing in.
Yeah, I think
It's just a feeling.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows
everybody
anything.
thinks- and even the people that know a little bit have been proven wrong a few.
Yeah.
At one point, it was the Jacksonville game.
I remember that.
At one point, it was the Chicago game.
Yeah.
If we really want to go back,
Yeah.
so it keeps getting pushed back. I think they expect him back. At some point this month, and I think that would mean if I can fudge that a little bit. And include because I think that Raiders game is December 2nd.
2, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
it is,
December
or
2nd.
whatever that Sunday is.
I think they're kind of soft, hoping for, aiming for, whatever, like right around that bye, because it goes Rams, bye, Raiders.
Right.
And I think somewhere in there.
Maybe look, maybe it actually makes sense to have it start in Oakland.
I think it was
Well, there's-
Rams by Raiders, Ravens, Chargers on Thursday night in what might end up being a division showdown. Maybe he's got a game head start into that game. You really have to win.
If you could manipulate the schedule a little bit, and they have the luxury of doing that because they're 7-1 and everything, and maybe this is what they're going to do with Sorensen and Houston. Actually, this is what I believe they'll do: is you come back for Cardinals. I think those guys are going to play next week, and then because then it's the next game is Mexico City on a Monday, so you get an extra day. You play that game, and plus it's Cardinals, kind of warm up. No offense to the Cardinals, but they stink. And then a real game that matters, and then you get a bye. You get a whole 2 weeks to rest,
Maybe.
and then Raiders, and then.
But you mean after Sorensen and Houston?
Yeah,
as opposed to Eric.
yeah. It just seems like those guys are. I mean, obviously, like they're at least on the field stretching, right? Like Barry.
Yeah, Sorensen's been practicing.
Yeah.
He's just, they don't have to make a decision until next week on Sorensen. So they've, I think, what was it, Andy on Wednesday said if they had to play that day, he probably wouldn't play. But he wasn't saying anything as far as what it means for Sunday yet. And obviously Houston, first time he's done anything, like I said, missed 3 games and he got out there today. I don't know if that means he's going to be out there Sunday. And they actually had, and somebody asked about this too, there's a couple guys reportedly in on workouts this week. Do we make anything out of Marquise Flowers and Obi
You pronounce that
Manu?
Obi-Wan. Yeah.
Obi-Wan Fu. I'm butchering that name, but to me, I don't know if I really read a whole lot into that, other than kicking the tires and seeing what they've got out there with some guys who are clearly athletic, but I mean, they're out there for a reason too.
Yeah. Obi was a second round pick, right?
No.
Yeah, super good athlete. He's 6'3", kind of big, runs a 4.4.
Yeah, he's a safety, but he's basically the size of I think almost the size of Hitchens, in terms of just weight and height, maybe a little bit bigger height wise.
I'm sorry. There were actually some questions about should he be a safety or should he be a linebacker? Like he's that kind of sort of hybrid. Which I don't think that's kind of Dorian O'Daniel.
Yeah,
right?
and Jordan Lucas has played the dime linebacker, and now Sorensen comes back, who's neither one of them is as big as that, but sort of have been in those spots.
Yeah, I think there's more guys that come in for workouts than sort of leak out, and maybe it says something that this leaks out, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that big of a. I don't think it means that they think less of Sorensen or Barry's
Right.
potential return. I'll say
It's
that.
got to be kind of an ongoing due diligence thing, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Maybe especially so as we're around just off the trade deadline. You got to be just thinking about what's out there and when and how, maybe.
I don't know if they operate like this, but if you bring that guy in just because of how bad Ron Parker was,
light a
man,
fire under somebody.
yeah,
Like, hey,
you know,
Yeah, we got through a lot of this without talking about Ron Parker.
Yeah.
That was a pretty, oof, oof. That was,
Did you guys ever get to a place where you felt like there's two plays that stick out, but do you feel comfortable figuring you understood that the coverage was in fact that it was on him?
it seemed like on the touchdown, that 25-yard
Yeah.
or so, I forgot who the receiver
Past
was.
Scandrick. I can't remember who the receiver
Oh,
was.
it's the
either.
new kid. It was Patrick, right?
oh,
It was
the former Tim Patrick.
I think, I mean, there's no way to know, right? But I think Scandrick freelanced a little bit, thought that there was an underneath pass and let the guy go. But still, so I think it's Scandrick's fault, but still, Parker needs to be quicker to get over there.
Yeah.
And maybe you give him the benefit if it doesn't happen all the time, but also that pass.
That play earlier, 40 yards down the sideline,
Yeah,
right?
down the right sideline.
That was Fuller and Parker.
And there was,
And
what's worse is if you watch that play again,
Trying to think, maybe right after, but I haven't watched
You
it
know the one we're
recently.
talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about,
Straight
and
one to the right.
and it's
There
just
was-
sort of it's aggravating me now that I didn't think of it either. Was there was a play at the end of the game in Denver, remember, that was dropped that they caught in between the corner and the
last play of the
safety,
game, right?
like that should have
Yeah.
been like and
yeah.
I can't remember
Yeah,
if
one
that
of
was
the last
Parker
plays.
or not. Was that Parker? Like that?
Yeah.
It was okay. See, I don't
I can't remember for sure if that was his fault, but he was the nearest
Yeah.
defender. But the thing about that play on Sunday, this past Sunday at Arrowhead, Parker was really slow getting over there, and there was nothing in the middle of the field that
to like
that
draw
showed,
his
like,
eyes
yeah,
and take his
yeah,
attention
it
away.
was just a combination of like, you expect his brain to be advanced. Like maybe his legs aren't there, right? Like maybe he's not the athlete that he used to be.
You want
which
to
is
see more.
true.
You want to see
Not
more
maybe.
in motion, right? Yeah. At least. Yeah.
But
yeah.
like, your brain. The idea in sports, right, is as your body goes like this, your brain goes like this, and you can make up for it at least for a little bit. And it just doesn't seem like that's really happening. And it's, I mean, like he's one of my favorite guys to talk to in that locker room.
Yeah.
But, like I really like him, but man, he is bad right now.
and he has 2 picks, so he's,
Uh-huh.
he leads the team in interceptions.
Hey, do you mind if we go back to Barry for one more moment? One last thing. I wanted to see what you guys thought. To what degree do you think the most inner circle of inner circles knows what is happening, what they're going to do, and to what degree is it's just unknown? I mean, in other words, is it a secret or is it just not known?
The unknown unknowns or the known unknowns.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like somewhere inside 2 people, 3 people know this is how it's going to work out? Or
No, I don't think anybody's sure.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or feel
this
they
is
know
not
is a better way to put it.
It's not a whole lot of anything that I'm basing off of, but I just from the sense that I just get from like even Clark Hunt was in here this week, and I don't think there's like we're
Yeah.
holding this out. It's more like we have to wait and see.
well, there's certainly unknowns in the why, right? But anyway, go ahead.
I'm going
Sorry,
to disagree. I'm going to say that Andy and Brett and the medical Rick Burkholter and Barry's medical people and Barry have an idea. They have something of a plan and a schedule, and they're being specific about it. And they've charted some kind of core. Because as we said earlier, I mean, there are certain points where we were, it seemed reasonable to expect him to be back for certain weeks, and he's not coming back. He's not back. And we see him in the locker room walking around, and we see him on the practice field. We see him on the field before the games. I mean, none of us are doctors. None of us know, but it just seems like he's walking around pretty normally.
Sure is.
Pretty normally, right?
Yeah, man. And he's been ever present, right? It's not like one of those things where he's
Yeah.
out of town for a week, doing rehab. He's always here,
I
as far as I recall.
I think there is. I'm just going to disagree, and you guys are probably right, but I'm just going to say I think there is some kind of specific plan for him, a timetable for him to come back and to maximize the health, in a concentrated way for whatever it is, half dozen, 8 games, something like that. It's just the sense that I have.
And you think it's just the usual skullduggery under that theory?
Yeah.
Skullduggery, like, well, we don't want anybody to know, but I mean, what's the incentive to to do it that way
Well,
instead
the-
of saying, yeah, we think it's going to be another month.
Why let an opponent know that
Yeah.
he's not going to be available? They see it on the injury report every day. I mean, they're not
Questionable.
practicing.
The two things, like I think that there's certainly less urgency. I wonder how different this would be if they're 4-4 or 5-3. I think that's real, but I think their minds have been changed. Like I think if they thought that we'd be talking about this going into the Cleveland game about whether he's still, by December or whatever, I think they would have put him on IR, designated return. Like I think they could have done some things like that.
Yeah.
I think that and the plan has changed. Like back in training camp, I heard, from people who should know, and if they don't, there's a bigger problem. Snaps in Chicago, be able to be there by the opener, and then you hear like, Jacksonville game might work, and now you hear, maybe a little bit later. I mean, there's just those plans have changed a little bit, but maybe the constant here is that it really does seem like it's up to Eric, like that they're waiting for him to say thumbs up, and as long as he sees, shoot, 1-0, 2-0, like 7-1 now, and I do believe that. I think this Atlanta Super Bowl thing, I think that's real. And he might want to wait as long as he possibly can to make sure he's has the best chance of playing in that game. Because, certainly playing the Super Bowl in Atlanta for him is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Sure it is, right.
And maybe just playing in the Super Bowl at all for him might be a once-in-a-lifetime.
Yeah.
Of course, the best chance for him to do that is to play and help them maintain the number one seed,
Yes.
and
Yep.
not be fronted
Absolutely.
by the Patriots
Absolutely.
in the
Yeah.
AFC. So, all right, let's collect some final thoughts and maybe throw out a prediction for Sunday. Vahe, why don't you kick us off? And
Well, 38 hasn't been a perfect number for me, but it's been the best number. I think the Chiefs will still put up some points, and even given the Browns' talent. But so I'm 38-17 Chiefs.
well, that's a big. I mean, they're anywhere from a 8 to a 10-point favorite. I've seen it all over the place, and it changed with the coaching upheaval in Cleveland on Monday.
It grew or got
It
lower?
grew. I think it opened at 8, 8.5, and now it's up to 9. So, Lynn, what do you think?
Trying to think. I don't even remember what I predicted last week, but let's see. I'll go.
23 last week is what you.
Oh yeah, sure. That's right. I had it right on the money. That's right. Let's see. I'll go with the Chiefs, and I'll go. Let's go 35-21.
Slamming Sammy.
So my first thought is that this emotion of the moment will be a boost for the Browns and
I
all that
agree.
stuff, and something like 28-27. But then I kind of think like this may just be a disaster franchise. Like this may be their 2012 or whatever for the Chiefs, and so now I'm thinking like 41-13.
Especially for a franchise that's
Boy.
1-31 the previous two seasons.
Yeah.
Like this is going to be the low point.
Yeah.
Boy, I have a whole different sense about this game than you. I think it's going to be kind of a slugfest.
Yeah,
I
could
do.
be.
I think
Could
it's going to
be,
be a really kind of a hard knock game. I'm going to go like 28-25, 28-24 Chiefs. I think they'll feel good to get out of there with a win.
The rest of us are getting to the point where we're like that old Saturday Night Live skit, like it's always the Bears. Win by 3 touchdowns. I mean,
Damn it, Mahomes.
gotta be somebody here to stabilize us.
Mahomes against the Hurricane.
All right, so guys, thanks for tuning in. Hey, and Brooke, we miss you. We'll see you Sunday in Cleveland, and be sure to give us a like on Facebook and follow the coverage of the Chiefs and all things sports Kansas City on kansascity.com and in the Kansas City Star. Thank you.